Well, you can see I'm over at my table saw. I have some different size strips of wood and 3 different types of wood. I have cherry, mahogany, and walnut. I have my wedgie sled here. That pretty much means we'll be making a segmented turning. This will be a feature ring. I want to get these pieces cut, glued together, before I decide what other type of wood I want to use for the rest of the segments and the actual shape of the bowl. And I like to do that once I have the feature ring made. So let's go ahead and get going and cut those pieces up. This is not my normal wedgie sled. It's one I use for special cuts. Today I have this set up at 45, this rail set up at 90. I'll use this one to put the 45-degree angle on it, and this one to cut the pieces to length and square them back up. Then I'll come back and keep doing the same thing. I'll show you a little bit of that, and then we'll get the rest of the pieces cut. And then after that I'll come back and we'll start gluing things together. Yeah. I've got all the pieces cut now, and you're probably wondering, well, how do these go together? So I'll go ahead and show you one of these, and the rest will look identical to it. So just so you know what's going on here. That's going to get flipped over, like so. And then I need to get glue on this, like so. Squeeze it together to line up the corners, and we're done. If I thought it needed a rubber band, I would just drop one around there, but so far I think we can do it just like this. Okay, we'll move on to the next step probably tomorrow. I have all the pieces glued together. I've cleaned them up. I've made sure that it's the same dimension both directions. I just need to cut a 15-degree angle on both sides so I can make a segment out of it. About the easiest way for me to do it, because you can't use a wedgie sled on a short piece like that. So I've got my blade tilted at 15 degrees. I have my little sled set up. I reset it up to this now. I have a stop there. And when I make my cut, I'm not going all the way to the top. If I cut any of that away, I will lose my dimensions when I flip it around. I don't want to take anything off of that. So I'll show you some of these cuts, and when I come back we'll be gluing something together. So I'll put a pencil mark here, how much I left flat. I don't know if you can see that, but that's about a 1/16 of an inch. And then that way I didn't do anything with the width of that piece, and it should work perfect. I'm going to find out tomorrow because it's getting late. I did glue a strip of maple on one end of each one of these little segments just to give it the look that I'm after. And I did a dry fit after that maple was glued on to make sure everything fit good, and it did. And I set the table saw up. I have multiple ways of doing it. I have a vernier protractor, which is probably more accurate than a digital protractor, but between all of those I made the cuts and they fit just right. Because these segments are 2 inches tall, I went ahead and used 2 hose clamps on it, and I like to tighten them up a little bit and go around and push all the segments so that they line up in the corners. And then I clamp them down, and then I use my little glue press to make sure they're flat. So I'm cutting sapele now for all the segments for the rest of this project, and all of these pieces are a 1/2 inch thick and various widths because it's a segmented job and not all layers are the same width. If you notice, I'm using the same edge of the board to index against the rails. It's just more accurate that way. So we've reached the part of this project that's not really exciting, but it really has to be done, and it has to be done accurately. So I take my time, I get the glue in there, make sure I have enough on each joint, and then I'll clamp it with a hose clamp. So I've got all of the rings glued up and flattened one side. Just getting glue on this surface here. This is going to be the base, and when I show it to you later, you'll see I've done something different than what I usually do. I have marks on there to line up so that the segments are staggered, and we'll just bring this up, and I'll see if I can find that mark again right there. I'll just bring it against here. Make sure the rest of them look like they're lined up. I'll clamp it down, let it sit for a little while, and we'll do the next one. This ring only needs to be 170 thousandths thick, but I need 2 of them that thick. So I went ahead and used the stock the way it was, and now I'll part it down the middle. It's a lot easier to glue up segments this thick than it is if they're only 170 thousandths. So I'll use my parting tool. I'll just kind of cut it down through the middle, and then I'll flatten it off and glue the next piece onto here. About 750 RPM. There we go. So I'm turning the inside shape right now because the next ring I glue on is going to be pretty tall, and it's going to be hard to get in there and do that. So I'll get this cleaned up all the way down to that base. So you can see I have the future ring in the coal jaws. It's really a good way to get it lined up, centered, and clamped into place because I can use my tailstock to apply pressure. And on this one, I left it all night long. On the smaller rings, I can turn them in a half an hour or so to flatten them out and glue another ring on. Alright, it's kind of coming together now, and maybe you can see the little illusion going on. Alright, I'm just getting everything around and then I'll glue the rest of it on. So I've got all the rings glued on now. I'm using my steady rest while I turn the inside of here and blend it in, and the outside as well. Using my 1/2 inch bowl gouge, we're doing 700 RPM. So even using the steady rest here, the piece had a lot of vibrations in it, just trying to round those segments on the inside, and the part's getting kind of thin, and that's why. So I'm not going to make you watch all of that, but we got it all cleaned up here pretty soon. Okay, that really got a little bouncy ride in there to get it smooth, and I went in with this little round carbide and just scraped it to blend it in. But it's getting thin here and it was chattering a lot, so I kind of stopped and made sure I didn't blow it up. Okay, now I got to get set up and round this end this direction and get the outside shape looking like it's supposed to. Okay, I removed the steady rest and I just have a flat disc here just to help stabilize the piece. I'll blend the ends over and then it's time to sand. Same 700 RPM, 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. About time to do some sanding. Okay, time to sand. And I'm going to use sheets of paper starting with 120 all the way through 400. I'll be sanding in reverse at about 350 RPM. When I get it all sanded up, I'll bring you back and we'll all get to see that first coat of finish go on. Alright, it's time to put the finish on it. I've decided to use Minwax polyacrylic, and so I'll start with the Minwax water-based sanding sealer, and there it is. So let's see what that looks like with some finish. That Sepile sure is pretty, isn't it? So's that walnut there. I don't remember if I told you what this is made out of. That's mahogany, walnut, and cherry. And this is Sepile. So this is the sanding sealer, and it usually takes 2 coats of this and maybe 2 or 3 coats of the polyacrylic. Depends what I want to end up with for the finish. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I'll put everything on the inside off camera because you really can't see in there anyways, and it'll look just like this. Alright, I'll see you when we're all finished. Well, here it is, and be sure to stick around to the end if you'd like to see a very simple way to remove a tenon that's been hot glued onto the bottom of your turning. And I've already taken this off, and I'll show you that at the end. And for a bonus, if you're interested in making a simple illusion, I'll show you how to make a sketch, and it's very easy to make. So if you want to see that, stick around to the end. I'll have that at the end. I said it's a simple illusion, and it certainly is. It's very simple. I first saw this done as a cutting board, And I've been thinking, once I started doing illusions, that should be a really cool illusion for a bowl. So we did that. We just went ahead and made ourselves a bowl. I think it's pretty cool. Look, there's the inside. So I see these as hallways, and it kind of looks like it's leading down the hallway and dead ends in here. And the inside kind of looks like maybe you're coming out of the hallway. But I also see it as little shelves. We had a little knick-knack shelf that had all of these little cubbies on it. They were not just going flat that way, they were stacked up. I have a picture of that. I'll put it at the end. Let me know if you think it looks anything like this. I think it looks more like the inside, but it's pretty cool looking. It finished 6 inches tall, 8 inches in diameter, and the walls are 3/8 of an inch thick. I used walnut, mahogany, and cherry for the illusion. It's framed with maple, and the segments are all made out of sapele, and that is such pretty wood, and it's got a lot of chatoyance in it. Pretty cool. I used a piece of oak on the bottom because I wanted a lighter color down there, just so that it would help light up the inside. And then on the bottom I used a piece of maple because you could sign it better, and that's what we ended up with. I used Minwax water-based sanding sealer, Minwax polyacrylic, and then I went over it with Axe polishing paste, and starting with the abrasive paste, that is, and then the polishing paste, and it turned out very nice. Pretty happy with it. So be sure to stick around if you want to see how to remove, and this is the tenon that I used. And if you want to see how I did that sketch, stick around to the end. And I sure had a lot of fun making this, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, do me a favor, click that like button and feel free to leave a comment. Both of those things will really help my channel grow. I do lots of different types of turnings, and you never know what might be next. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. And a special thanks to all my current subscribers. You really mean a lot to me. So, till the next time, see you later. This is the tenon that I hot glued onto the blank, and how I like to remove it is just get some denatured alcohol up against the hot glue, and it will kind of draw itself underneath it. I'll get that all the way around. I'm going to probably let it sit for maybe 5-10 minutes. I think I'll go and have a cup of coffee, and I'll be back and show you how it will just pop right off. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. It should be ready. I'm just going to take this chisel here, lay the flat side down, and just work it under, find a place where it wants to go, like right there. And that's it. That's what we have. So I've been asked many times, is this strong enough? Well, I just used it on here. I think it's strong enough as long as you put it on right, get the hot glue nice and hot. You put it on there. I don't put it underneath it. That just causes it to be not flat, gives it a chance to lever itself off. So I just go around, and that's it. Alright, I'm going to show you how easy it is to develop this illusion. This is just a scrap I had. It's about 2 1/8 inch square. I'm going to mark around this. I've already made a little square here. And again, this is not important. It can be whatever you want. So I've got that marked on there. I'm going to use that to mark my drawing, like so. So now I need to connect those lines. So we're just going to come across like so, and we're going to come up here like so. Alright, now we have almost everything we need. I go to this corner and connect right there, and I'll make another straight line. Okay, we now have the pieces to make the illusion. You have one with a 45 here, one with a 45 there, and another square. I've already shaded one in so you can see what it looks like, but that's how easy that is to do. And there is what it'll look like if you choose the right types of wood to give you the illusion. So really pretty simple. So this is the knick-knack shelf and those shadows. That's how you create an illusion.